Kendrick Lamar just walked into the Grammys, snatched his 27th trophy, broke Jay-Z's all-time record, and low-key turned the whole rap industry into a live humiliation reel. 50 Cent folded on Drake with a dry congrats. Jay got caught stone-faced on national TV, while his future of rap moment got obliterated. And Lil Wayne went from I'm him to comparing himself to a fired NFL coach. And the wildest part, these dudes really thought Grammy night was going to be their victory lap, not their public unmasking. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. You won't want to miss what comes next. Kendrick Lamar catered himself swept the Grammys with Luther Chains and Whips and his album GNX, breaking Jay-Z's all-time record with 27 wins and triggering a chain reaction across the rap world. It all went down on February 1st. 2026 live at the Grammy Awards with the fallout spilling onto Instagram and Twitter the next day. 50 Cent, JD, and Lil Wayne clearly thought they had safer positions than they music did. Now, let's pull up the receipts and see exactly how Grammy night exposed everybody. Yo, let's start with Curtis 50 Cent Jackson music, because this man did a full WWE heel turn in silence. In his sit-downs during the Drake versus Kendrick war, like his vibe in Big Boy's neighborhood interviews, 50 was riding for Arbery Drake Graham like he was on payroll. Music. In one clip, he said Drake didn't lose a mother effing thing. When I heard that, I was like, bro, the man got packed up in front of the whole culture, and you talking like this is a tax write-off. That's not loyalty. That's delusion. In that same wave of interviews, Fifth kept falling back on the money talk, bragging how Drake got $300 million like that check clears every L. When I saw that, I had to laugh. That's the broke mentality. Music flex. He rich so he can't lose. Nah. If that's your argument, you already lost a debate. Then Grammy night happens. And less than 24 hours later on February 2nd, Fizzy posts on Instagram, "Congratulations, Kendrick, top of the world." No Drake tag, no explanation, no follow-up. When I read that caption, I was like, that's it, month of cap for Drake. And when Kendrick becomes the most decorated rapper ever, you turn into a quiet guidance counselor. That's the softest pivot I've ever seen from a dude who built a career on picking sides loud. Now, slide over to Destined Choice route, JD. This one hurts if you're a fan, man. Back in August 2024 in interviews and on socials, JID said plain as day he wanted to rap with Da. When I heard that, I respected it. That's a hooper saying, I want to guard Jordan. But the way he said it, you could feel the subtext. Now I look up to you, but I'm ready to stand next to you. Cool, but you gotta actually be ready. Fast forward to Grammy night. Cameras catch Jay in the crowd every time Kendrick's name gets called. For Best Rap Album when GNX beats his project. For Best Melodic Rap Performance when Kendrick snatches that too. Clips start circulating with descriptions like stoic facial expression and reluctant-looking claps. When I saw those close-ups, I was like, nah, that's not I lost, but I'm happy for bro music. That's my whole future of rap narrative just got smoked on live TV. You can't fake that kind of hurt. His face did all the talking. Now, let's talk Dwayne Michael Carter Jr., Lil Wayne, the self-proclaimed best rapper alive. According to Yahoo Entertainment in November 2024, after Kendrick mentioned him on GNX, Wayne allegedly reacted with this low-key threatening energy in interviews, like he was not okay with it even saying his name. When I read that reporting, I was like, Wayne, of all people, you should know mentioning you on a classic-level album is a crown tap, not a disc. Acting threatened by a bar when you're a legend, that's already shaky. Then comes a real sting. After Thought Carter 6 gets 0 Grammy nominations, Wayne jumps on social media and posts, wasn't nominated, got to work harder. When I saw that, my jaw low-key dropped. Wayne telling us he has to work harder is like Jordan saying he needs more layup drills. It sounded less like hunger and more like somebody forced about or a room that ignored him. And then he doubles down reportedly comparing himself to Bill Belichick getting fired. One of the most respected NFL coaches just tossed aside. When I heard that, I was like, yep, there it is. That a man realizing the league moved on without asking his permission. For someone who once was the league, that's brutal. Now for the curveball. Ben Goldberg, better known as Token, jumping into the crossfire like a volunteer tribute. On Twitter, while everybody's dissecting JD's losses, token tweets, Jay should won rap albums, so the Grammys could embrace the future instead of embracing what is already heavily embraced. When I read that, I almost threw my phone. Future versus heavily embraced. Bro, Jay is 33. Kendrick is 37. That's music, not future versus past. That's big cousin versus little cousin. That tweet wasn't defending Jay. It was trying to age Kendrick out the game because he wins too much. Music, and through all this, Drake stays ghost. No Grammy appearance, no performance, no speech, no live reaction. He keeps his boycott going while the same institution, he's trying to rewrite a story that is basically finished. Music, that's like showing up in the fourth quarter, trying to argue the scoreboard is wrong. Then Jay publicly says he wants to rap with that months before the Grammys. That's not just fan talk that positions as the guy of blogs and champion as the next up to challenge Cot. You know, labels and PR teams love that angle. Old King versus New Prince. Except the Academy never agreed to that script, because when the 2026 Grammy nominations hit, who's across from Kendrick in those rap categories? Jay. The matchup is official now, not imaginary. And when the winners are announced, every time they share a category, the gold statue walks to Kendrick. That's not random. It's the industry saying, we heard the future versus present argument, and we're still rolling with present. Now layer Wayne into it. After that seemingly threatening energy once GNX mentioned him, he lines up the Carter 6 like a big re-entry. But when nominations drop, silence. Zero Neem, the same institution that used to crown him heavily, is now acting like his album doesn't exist. People online start whispering, did the Grammys low-key pick a side in this centered power shift? The timing makes it look even uglier for Wayne. His got to work harder post and belly-she comparison hit music after the nominations list is public. So instead of a confident they'll catch up later, it reads like damage control. If you're a legend and your new album gets ghosted the same season Kendrick is breaking records, that's not just a miss, that's a message. Meanwhile, Drake's boycott sits in the background like a shadow. He stepped away from the Grammys in 2022, and since music, then that same stage has leveled up Kendrick's mythology. First track crowned, then record-breaking total. The very room Drake rejected is now the place Kendrick is being coronated. Music, Drake's absence isn't neutral anymore. It looks like self-exile and tokens embrace the future tweet that drops while the internet is already clowning Jay's camera reactions and celebrating Kendrick's wins. The timing makes it feel less like genuine concern for culture and more like a panic tweet. Quick shift the narrative. Say Kendrick is over-awarded, so Jay doesn't look like he just got humbled on screen. So when you zoom out, 50 spin, JD's ambition, Wayne's pride, Drake's boycott, music, tokens framing, all of them orbit one central thing. Music. Kendrick turning award season into a referendum on who really runs this era. And each of them in their own way picked the wrong moment to challenge that. And honestly, the way they move around this timeline, it screams one thing. These dudes did not think this through. But here's where it gets even crazier. Because under all this obvious drama, there's hidden messaging and psychological warfare that a lot of people missed. Now, check this out. Nobody's really talking about how the Grammys themselves became part of Kendrick's pen game. First hidden layer, GNX dropping right after Not Like Us becomes a Grammy. Darling, that's not just scheduling, man. That's Kate saying, y'all rewarded me for ending a superstar. Cool. Now watch me build a whole album around that energy. When he put the bar in there that references legends like Wayne, he's not clout chasing. He's stamping. I'm existing in the same tiers, y'all. But I'm the one the institutions are listening to right now. And Wayne allegedly took that as a threat. That's the crazy part. He missed that this was a crown tap, not a sneak disc. If you're really secure as a GOAT, your name in dots versus legacy, not violation. Second layer, the song Luther was SZA winning record of the year. Look at that title alone, Luther. That's a nod to Luther Vandross soul royalty. A figure tied to timeless black music. Kendrick attaching his most mainstream Grammy bait record to that name is symbolic flexing. I'm not just your favorite rapper. I'm placing myself in the lineage of black musical immortals. An opposition camp still trying to frame him as over-embraced didn't clock music that. They thought this was just another single when really Kendrick is using the biggest pop music stage to rebrand himself beyond rap. How are you going to play chess against a guy who's literally moving himself into another category? Third layer, G's reaction shots. Yeah, they're memes now, but look closer at the pattern. Every time Kendrick's name is read, the director cuts to G or to Tyler, the creator, and Clips. It's intentional storytelling. Tyler and Clips are beaming, celebrating that like they know they're watching history. G is stiff, clapping like he's at a funeral. The subliminal message TV is sending. These are the artists aligned with the new order. And here's the one who thought he was about to join them, but just got benched, or at least his camp didn't peep. They were being used for that narrative. That's embarrassing. If you're going to sit in those seats, you got to understand your content now. Bro, fourth layer, 50 cents wording. Those 4 little words, top of the world. On its face, it's a compliment. But listen to the emptiness. No, my bad. No recalibration. No mention of that whole Drake didn't lose stance. It reads like something you drop when you're trying to keep doors open in every direction. From a psychological standpoint, that's 50 trying to stay next to whoever looks strongest. Classic survival instinct from a guy who came up in a cutthroat industry. But to hip-hop fans, it reeks of opportunism, and it proves Kendrick doesn't even have to respond. His accomplishment forced a known bully into a soft focus paragraph. Fifth layer, Wayne comparing himself to Bill Bitch. That's not random. Y'all, Belly Chic didn't just get fired. He got fired after years of being the standard. Then suddenly the league adjusted, and his old formula didn't hit like it used to. Music. Wayne sees his reflection in that. That's an unintentional confession. The game changed, and I might not be the blueprint anymore. And the wildest thing, Wayne says that out loud, and some of his own fans still spin it like it's hunger. Bro basically admitted the room doesn't fear him like before, and people are cheering that if he had half the self-awareness Dot clearly has about evolving, he'd pivot instead of clinging to old metrics. And finally, Token's phrase already heavily embraced. That's some coded language. What he's really saying is we're tired of seeing Kendrick win, but the way he dresses it up is by pretending it's about the future of rap, except the age gap is 4 years. The real subtext is, we need someone, anyone other than this dude, to be the face because his music dominance makes our favorites look smaller. If Token or G really read between those lines, they'd see that Tweet doesn't crown his future. It uses him as a prop to push anti-Kendrick fatigue. That's not a compliment. That's exploitation. Music. And through all of this, Kendrick doesn't have to tweet, doesn't have to hop on IG Live, doesn't have to drop a freestyle. He encoded his message in titles and performances and who he stood next on that stage. Meanwhile, the opposition is out here missing every clue, playing checkers while he's building a mythology. Now, let's see how the media try to frame all this, because some outlets are clearly scared to say what we just music broke down. Complex is a type of outlet that's going to frame this as Kendrick Lamar makes history with 27th Grammy Rap Reacts. Real clean, real safe. They'll mention 50's congrats post as a classy gesture, sprinkle in G's nominations, and maybe slide Wayne's "Gotta Work Harder" line in as an example of humility from a legend. They keep it positive because that's their lane. Then you got sites like Hot New Hip Hop or Academics Ecosystem, which will lane harder into the memes. They'll post a G reaction steals with captions like G not feeling that Kendrick W and let the comments do all the dirty work. They won't say his ego got checked, but they know exactly what narrative they're feeding. A place like XXL might focus on the legacy angle. With this win, Kendrick surpasses Jay-Z's record, cementing himself as one of the greatest. They'll put Wayne's Belichick comparison in there as a sad, almost poetic moment, like the old guard passing the torch, whether they want to or not. Now, some people are going to push a counter narrative, and we already saw it with Token's tweet and those future versus present think pieces popping up. They'll say the Grammys are stuck on Kendrick because he's a safe pick, or the Academy is scared to embrace new blood like G. basically trying to make it seem like Dot's wins are an indictment of the system, not a reflection of skill, music, and impact. But here's why that doesn't hold up at all. Those same Grammys literally embraced a diss track that violated every safe checkbox when they showered Not Like Us with trophies. That's not playing it safe. That's rewarding the most aggressive, culture-shifting moment of the last few years. You can't have it both ways. Either the Academy is stale, or it crowned a song that cooked one of the biggest artists on earth. And for the folks writing 50's side like he's just being mature, he obviously respects both Drake and Kendrick. I hear you, but come on. This is 50 Cent we're talking about. This man built a whole brand off picking a side loudly. When that energy suddenly turns into a lukewarm congratulations, the second the scoreboard goes crazy in Kendrick's favor. You can't pretend that's just growth. That's survival mode. And the receipts we already walked through prove it. Same with Wayne Defender saying he's just being humble. Real G's accept losses. Sure, but legends don't usually compare themselves to fired music coaches while the new face of the league is getting a statue. The timing betrays the talking points. Music. If you still think the opposition looks strong in this situation after everything we just laid out, you're not analyzing. You're music, standing. The media can spin. Fans can cope. But the receipts don't lie. But here's what nobody is really talking about. And this is where it gets dark. Here's the mainstream narrative right now. Kendrick Lamar is just stacking Grammys because the Academy loves him. 50 is being mature. G is the future. Who will get his turn? Wayne is humbly resetting. Drake doesn't care because he's rich and boycotting. Cool. That's the fairy tale. Here's what they won't tell you. This whole night was about power, not trophies. And Kendrick didn't just win awards. He quietly exposed who the industry actually believes in and who they think is replaceable. Let's choose the industry politics and psychological warfare angle, because that's really what this is. First uncomfortable truth. 50 Cent is not some neutral OG. He's a brand manager for himself. When he pushed that Drake didn't lose, he's got $300 million line. That wasn't about Drake's feelings. That was 50 aligning with who he assumed would still control the mainstream narrative when the smoke cleared. Drake was the safer bet until he wasn't. Grammy night flips the script. Kendrick's diss energy gets canonized. GMX becomes award bait. And Luther cracks record of the year. Suddenly, the room's 50 still wants access to the elite events, the big checks. The producer meetings are filled with people treating Kendrick like the culture's official North Star. So what does Fifth do? He doesn't apologize or stand 10 toes on what he said. He drops that weak top of the world post. Real talk, that's not respect. That a man realizing the industry moved its chips to the other side of the table, and he better shovel over before he looks like the bitter uncle still defending the losing team. He's not a puppet, but he's not fearless either. He's reading the room. Second truth. G was never being framed as a future because the industry really believed he would surpass Kendrick. He was framed as the future because people need a future that's not named Kendrick. There's a difference. It's not this kid is destined to take the crown. It's please, somebody come take the pressure off our faves who keep losing to this one dude. So, when the Academy stacks Kendrick over G in every shared category, that's not just an L for G. That's an L for an entire marketing campaign. The camera is zooming in on G's face. That's unintentional honesty. Music. You're watching somebody realize on stage that the future versus present storyline doesn't work if the present is still this undeniable. And the culture is ruthless. The memes don't say G will be back stronger. They say G watching his dreams evaporate. That's psychological warfare by accident. The Academy didn't target him directly, but their decisions turn his ego into collateral damage. Third truth, Lil Wayne's situation is the ugliest politically. For years, he was a Grammy darling. Now, after he reportedly gives off a threatening energy when Kendrick says his name on GNX, he suddenly gets zero recognition for Jakarta 6 while that gets coronated. Is it proven he was punished? No, but does it look like the institutions sending a message about who they consider the present and whose legacy only? Absolutely. Wayne saying got to work harder and comparing himself to Bellich is heartbreaking because it's him trying to spin a power loss into a motivational poster. But the industry politics are loud. Music. When a new king is in the room, the committee isn't obligated to keep respecting the old one. Wayne represents an era that thought it would decide when the torch passed. The Grammys basically said, nah, we decide music and the torch is already gone. Fourth truth, Drake's boycott used to be a flex. It said, I don't need your validation. My numbers speak for me. But now, with Kendrick using that same stage to redefine what winning looks like in rap, all right, let's look forward because the fallout from this is going to be crazy. Scenario 1, the silent rain. Here's what's most likely to happen. Kendrick Lamar is going to lean even harder into silence. Music, no messy interviews, no gloating, just more music, more selective appearances, music, more surgical moves. He's going to let that 27 Grammys broke Jay-Z's record stats music sit like a granite statue in the middle of the culture while that's happening. 50 Cent is going to struggle to reposition himself. Every time he comments on Drake or Kendrick going forward, people are going to remember how fast he flipped with that dry IG caption. His whole, I always pick the win inside persona is going to look shaky, and you know the internet never forgets. The more he talks, the more folks will be like, didn't you just abandon Drake after Doc got crowned? That's a stain. He's not going to shake easily. And the beauty for Kendrick, he wins by doing less. Music. The quieter he stays, the more everybody else talks themselves into deeper L's trying to spin what just happened. The crown gets heavier, and he doesn't even have to touch it. Music. Scenario 2. The rap battlefield reopens. Now, if the alternative happens and Kendrick decides to engage, drops another album, a loose single, or even a stray bar directly addressing all this, man, it's over for a lot of people's pride. If K'da puts a few surgical lines about 50 switching sides, JID's frozen face, or Wayne's belly sheet comparison into a verse, the internet's going to explode. Memes, threads, think pieces, the whole machine will spin. And the ones he names, they'll be stuck between responding and looking cooked, or staying quiet and looking even more cooked. Jed might try to fire back on Wax to prove he's really that future rap energy. But if he jumps into that ring before the culture fully puts him on Kendrick's level, he's going to get compared bar for bearer to a guy who already owns the headlines and the trophies. That's a dangerous matchup. People love JID now. They're not going to love watching him get graded like a student next to the professor. Wayne, if he responds on some I'm still the best rapper alive tip, will hype the old heads up. But younger fans are going to see it as a legacy battle he can't fully win. If he doesn't absolutely smoke whatever he drops, folks will say he fell off. The risk for him is way higher than the reward. Either way, if Kendrick chooses violence again, he's going to dictate the terms of the conversation, and everyone else will be reacting in real time. That's chick-made energy. Scenario 3, long-term industry and cultural impact. Looking at the bigger picture, this night is going to sit in hip-hop history as a turning point. In a few years, people are going to point back to Kendrick's 27th Grammy as the moment the industry officially picked a side in the K versus Drake era debate. Award shows, festival lineups, Hall of Fame type conversations. Music. They're going to lean more toward it as the archetype of serious rap greatness. For Drake, that means his legacy talk will always come with an asterisk in certain circuits. Yeah, he was a megastar, but when it came to critical respect and institutional music validation, Kendrick got him. His fans are going to keep arguing, but in rooms that matter, panels, documentaries, retrospectives, that L is going to hang over the conversation. For 50 Cent, this is going to be remembered as the moment he pivoted wrong. People will still respect his early run, but in terms of cultural commentary, there's going to be this lingering sense that he backed the wrong narrative and then tried to quietly walk it back. His mythology is the guy who never misreads a power shift. It's going to have a crack in it. For JID, this could either be a crucial growing pain or the beginning of a ceiling. If he uses this as fuel and drops an undeniable classic that forces the culture to say, okay, he's really up there, he can flip it. But if he just keeps dropping music, good projects without that world-stopping impact, folks will remember him as the guy who had a clap for Kendrick on the night he thought he'd ascend. That's a brutal screenshot to live under. For Wayne, this will mark the unofficial transition from active king to legacy act in the eyes of a lot of younger fans. They're going to respect what he did, But they won't look to him as the one shaping what rap is. And once that switch flips in the culture's mind, it rarely flips back. And for Kendrick, this cements him as the measuring stick. New rappers are going to get compared to him. Old rappers are going to get measured against his run. Industry people are going to build strategies around or against his blueprint. Every award show from now on is going to mention the most decorated rapper in Grammy history, like it's his last name. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear.